Hey guys, welcome back to the show. So I hope everyone is doing well. This is an extraordinarily uncertain, scary, depressing, sad, horrific time for so many of us, but it can also be, for some people, it might be good. I think, having the opportunity to spend a lot of time at home, it's definitely an opportunity and a break that I feel like so many of us kind of needed, especially for us New Yorkers. I feel like we needed to just sit down for a sec. But yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. It's been a struggle for me. So I'm just starting to, get to a point where I'm a bit I'm on more of a schedule, kind of, sort of. But, just getting back to normal and really focusing on things without feeling like I have to ignore what's going on. I feel like that's what a lot of people needed. They just needed some time to settle into this. Not that it feels good to settle into this, but I think people just needed a second or a few weeks. And still, some people are probably just going to need a couple months. Like, this is probably just going to be hard the whole time for a lot of people, and that's fine too, because this is crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, just to get back to why I decided to record this is I've just been thinking, and I've been thinking about sustainability and looking at what's happened to the apparel industry, which has not come as a shock. Like, I feel like everyone in the apparel industry kind of like saw this coming in terms of it just collapsing due to the virus. So you have that. And then I was listening to I think it was a webinar it was either the BOF or, I think it was Sourcing Journal. And one of the founders, he was saying that there's a reckoning that's going to happen, and fashion will never be the same after this, at least for sourcing and production and all that stuff, and manufacturing. And I couldn't agree with him more, to be quite honest with you. My belief is, and this is just a theory that I have, I feel like so many industries are going to really start backtracking to the way things were, pre the Industrial Revolution, where you had the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker in a town. Like, small businesses are the ones, small businesses thrived, and, slow production it just worked. And for, as many of you already know, like, that is what we're trying to get to, because that is a sustainable way of consuming things. So I think that the pandemic is definitely going to help people reevaluate what it means to scale their business, and if they want to scale it to a point where, God forbid, something like this happens, everything just falls apart, where they can't, because everything is so big, they're not going to be able to catch all the damn pieces in time, and not to be funny, that's just my theory. I feel like a lot of companies are definitely going to start considering scaling down a lot to really focus on quality versus quantity, and then allowing organic growth to just kind of like let itself happen, and not really focus on, we have to market this and grow here and establish ourselves in this emerging market and all these things, which is great. I'm not saying that people shouldn't think about growing their businesses or anything like that, or growing their businesses internationally, especially with, the internet now, and shipping everywhere and all that stuff. It's just, I just think this is such a reminder, and I don't want to say lesson, because I feel like lesson is it's just too harsh of a word right now. I guess maybe for like bad people who kind of this is just kind of like, this might be in some ways something that they needed to experience. But I feel like lesson is just not a good word. This happened to everyone. This is not like isolated or anything like that. So yeah, I think it's just gonna really help people understand the importance of slow production and really being willing to invest in products. I know for the sustainable fashion community, we already have that mindset. We understand cost per wear. We understand investing in long-term pieces, so you don't have to buy. We understand the environmental impacts of watching where you shop and, really understanding or wanting to understand, or really rather demanding to understand where your clothes came from, especially for new products, because, if it's vintage, you probably don't really know. You probably can't track it back unless it's like Levi's or something like that. But that brings me to a thought that I had, because I feel like a lot of us, especially people who grew up here in America, a lot of us like luxury, and I have been thinking about what luxury actually is. And a lot of us, I think, are at a point where we understand that luxury does not mean a designer piece necessarily. Luxury is like a blessing. Luxury is an emotion. Luxury is also attached to something that you value highly. And with that, I was just starting to think about, I can be, I like nice things. I'm not wealthy or anything like that, but I do like nice things. So when when I want to invest in something, when I want to buy like a really nice piece, and I'm in a position to purchase it, even though I might have the budget later, or not order Grubhub for like 2 months or something like that, I'm okay with that. And I would choose to make this purchase because I like nice things. So, and I think in some ways I can be a little bit bougie when it comes to certain things. Like, if I want to buy like an expensive candle, I will, even though that there's a lot of issues with that, because a lot of candles have a lot of toxins in them. So that's another issue within itself. But, just things, and just liking nice things, and how that and how that contradicts with wanting to adopt a sustainable lifestyle. I've just been thinking about, what is the line between wanting nice things and investing in things versus not doing that, basically, and buying vintage, buying old, or like, say when you travel, you find like this amazing piece, whatever it is, for either your home, or it's an item of clothing, or it's, an artifact or something, and you pay a lot of money for it because you know that it's worth it to you, and you know that this will last long. But it's just like, say that product wasn't made sustainably, right? Say that product wasn't, made by an artisan, where you met the artisan, and, you know where it came from, how it, and all these things are like, when you think of like a Chanel bag, right? Like, they say that buying a Chanel bag is almost the same type of investment as like buying a home, because of its value over time and how it appreciates over time, which is insane. But when you think about that and things like that, and these types of items, and then given the controversy and behind where it's made, and I imagine like Chanel, or even like Hermes, things are probably still made well in a well environment, but not all our luxury products are. So it's so how does a bougie person remain bougie and want luxury and like luxurious items that they value and understand the way that it's made, can they be sustainable? Like, is that a problem? Because my thing is, I'm questioning myself for a lot of those, for that reason. I mean, I don't have like Chanel bags or anything like that, but I've been thinking about buying a really nice pair of like luxury sneakers, designer sneakers. I've been thinking about that, and I'm just like, oh my God, like should I be questioning this? I mean, no, I should be questioning it, but I'm just curious about what you all think about that, because a lot of us talk the talk, but not everyone is walking the walk when it comes to sustainability. And it's okay, because you can't be 100% sustainable. They're existing in the world now. You just can't but I think it's a question that we should all ask ourselves about what we're willing to change. I know that for me, I want to eventually buy land and start a garden and learn how to compost. All of these like starter sustainable living kinds of things, making my own home cleaning products and things like that, even though there's a lot out there already. But I think for me personally, I think for a lot of people too, it's really backtracking back to the way, our ancestors did things. That is how you survive. When you know how to grow your own food, when you know how to make your own clothes, when you know how to clean your own house and disinfect your own house without using like a lot of chemicals, that is sustainability. Basically backtracking to our roots, whatever culture you come from. So how do we acknowledge that and take pride in that, and take pride in the fact that we are, as individuals, learning these things, because it's a process, because we're not going to reverse everything overnight. Most of us know that. But when it comes to consumerism, where's the line? When do you not call yourself, sustainable? Or, well, you know what? No, I think maybe you shouldn't call yourself sustainable, period. I don't think anyone should call themselves sustainable. I think all of us, like myself and other people in the field, who are really talking about these things, pretty sure we don't call ourselves sustainable, but I think most of us are at a point where we are questioning so much about our lifestyles. And, you just can't be 100% sustainable. And I imagine that a lot of people agree, but I do feel like there are people who are really out here walking the walk. They are really living that zero waste lifestyle. They've gotten really good at it. They are really focused, which is great. And, it just kind of they serve as an example of that, that sort of the huge lifestyle change that it takes to really get as close as we can to it. And then the more and more people that get closest to that, the better things will be. And even that will take time within itself. So that's my question. For people who still like nice things, and when I say nice things, I mean luxury products, how do we question luxury and redefine luxury? I know that this is a conversation that's already happening. I'm not saying that this has never been asked before, but to me, luxury is supreme value to a person. So luxury can be, for me, it's things that, for me personally, luxury is things that are connected to the five senses. So fragrance, color therapy, artisanship, things like that, one of a kind sorts of things. And I think that's kind of like what it is for a lot of people. But luxury to me is reconnecting to the earth through the five senses, because I feel like so many of us have like disconnected. We don't even realize how disconnected we are to these things. So what is luxury when it comes to sustainability? And for people who still, especially for in luxury fashion, because I love luxury fashion. I love designer labels. I don't, you know what? No, I don't love designer labels, but like if there's a piece that I really like, I'm inclined to buy it. But then, you think about, oh gosh, where was it made? Where was it this? And I feel like, especially for people who are in this space, I feel like that can get exhausting because you're constantly thinking about, where did it come from? What is it? Oh my gosh. Which is understandable. It's totally understandable. And I feel like so many of us have been there where we've probably done things that we're quote, quote, not proud of, or bought things that we're quote, quote, not proud of, giving our understanding of consumer products and so many consumer products, but it's so embedded in us sometimes that we just still buy it because it's just like, okay, sometimes you just want to take a break from like being so hard on yourself because you bought a specific product, and that in itself is a problem, right? Like, because so many of us are probably still thinking like that in that moment. And then with that, it's still driving the machine because so many people are taking that break on that one item. Like, okay, I'm just going to buy this H&M top because I need a t-shirt right now, which is okay, but it's also like, we're trying to get to this point where we're changing our behaviors and really watching what we consume. But then, just human nature kind of just kicks in and, it just, the ball doesn't get moving at the scale that we need it to. So for me, that's just something that I've been, struggling with. Not struggling. When I say struggling, I just mean like, just questioning the things I want, the things that I'd like to have in my home and all that stuff. And then also just kind of saying what in the world should I not buy at this point, in terms of things I want. I think we all have physical things that we probably want, outside of, being, having a healthy relationship to money and spending. Obviously I'm talking about people who have, they have a healthy relationship with money and with spending. I'm not talking about, situations where we, get guilty or we make these guilty purchases or these really ridiculous purchases that we know we shouldn't be buying and things like that. But for individuals who are, they have that healthy relationship with money and spending, and they want this item or they want these, this fancy or expensive, which will likely be expensive if it's fancy, bed sheet or, depending on where it's made, and they're just, the story behind it and all these things. And how do we navigate that? And when do we not believe the story? I think you should always, because I feel like marketers now, it's storytelling now, which is great. But I think, marketers, like typical marketers, have gotten such a hold around storytelling now, and have gotten really, really good at it to where they make these stories believable. Which is why I have a big problem with like just mass-produced things, period, because I feel like anything mass-produced is just not not sustainable and not ethical, honest. To be quite honest with you, mass-produced stuff, I just don't think so. I think more and more products should be limited edition. And let me know what you guys think about this too. I think, and that's what I love about luxury too, the scarcity. I love and I think with that mindset, that sort of like scarcity mindset, limited edition, or there's only 10, or, like there's only 10 in the world, or we're only making 500 of these. Things like that, I feel is needed. in so many ways. I think that capsule collections are gonna really come back again because it helps people think about their purchase. And this is another thing. I've just been doing a lot of research on this. I'm working with on a branding project with brand strategy, social impact brand strategy, and just really looking into just consumer psychology and how do we help consumers understand their relationship to products and how they react to limited edition things. How do they react to things that they know might not be available? Because when you look at just think of like collector's items and things like that, I think to me that's luxury. And I think that's the mindset that needs to, I think it's the mindset of consumers. I think that has to happen with a lot of consumers, but I also think that brands should start to adopt that, because what that's going to encourage is, small scale production. And it's going to help consumers value things a little bit more, like, oh, I want this because of A, B, and C for whatever reason, and getting to that point, and then, being profitable, because more than likely these products are going to be on the pricier side, So yeah, what is luxury when it comes to this space? What is true luxury when it comes to this space? I know Positive Luxury has been talking about this for a while, and luxury brands, but a lot of luxury brands, their stuff is still mass produced. It's still, they're huge companies. So it's just kind of like, when it comes to like investment pieces, should we not still buy a Chanel bag? Like, is a Chanel bag embarrassing to us in the sustainable fashion community? Is it because it's like, if you buy it vintage, it's probably cool, right? But it's still a Chanel bag. It's still a luxury handbag. So when it comes to the secondhand thing, how do we question and make these decisions when we decide to buy an item that we know is valuable at retail price, something new, but with that same value, but just kind of like, thinking like, oh, I'm going to have this for the rest of my life and it's probably going to be passed down, but without that guilt at time of purchase. You know what I mean? Because I feel like in the sustainable fashion community, we definitely, I don't think we shame. I mean, some people probably do, and shame on you. I don't think anyone should shame anyone. But, we do, we really wear vintage clothes. Like it makes, it's like, yeah, we're proud of ourselves, and which is good. And it's something that we should be proud of. And it's just when we decide to buy something expensive, a luxury item, and in our minds, we know that we're buying this particular item for a reason. We know we have that sort of cost per wear and that sort of value in mind when we're purchasing this thing. But how do we let go of that guilt at that time, saying, oh, I bought this new item versus, versus I bought this item secondhand, because like we are feeding that machine still. And we still buy new things, whether you like it or not, especially like beauty products and things like that. Like, I mean, you have to, but, and I think with beauty products and stuff, it's just more about plastic and materials in that sense. But yeah, how do we separate that, and what do we call it when we decide to shop from a luxury brand, even though the intent behind that purchase is buying something that we know we're going to have long term, and it's an investment piece, but it's not from, a Reformation or a Never Lane, or it's not from, one of our list of approved fashion brands, if that makes any sense. So that's the question that I have, because I feel like, can you be sustainable and bougie? I say yes, but it depends on where your products come from, obviously. But when we do make purchases from these I know a lot of the luxury brands are really working on sustainability and stuff like that slowly, but yeah, I know they're getting there, and I know they're touching upon that. But I mean, I'm just talking about outside of that, when you go and buy a luxury product that's not attached to sustainability in some way, and when you make that individual decision, what do we call that? And how do we release that guilt? you know, and how do we assess the actual impact of this purchase? And how can we be real with that, but also, like I said, not being guilty about it, but just assessing like how we categorize those types of purchases. So yeah, let me know what you all think. I'm gonna, if I didn't do it already, I'm definitely gonna talk about this on Instagram. And yeah, let me know what you think, because this is something that I think I am going to assume that a lot of people are, I wouldn't say struggling with, but it's just like, and I think we all do it in one way or another, whether it's like eating at a restaurant, like, we all have this part of ourselves that is still living regular life. And, we definitely, a lot of us are still doing unconscious things. It's difficult, right? Living a sustainable lifestyle is difficult. It just is, because of the world we live in, and because a lot of skill sets like farming and things like that have been not lost, but we've definitely disconnected from a lot of these things throughout generations. And this is, I think this is for a lot of cultures, for the most part. I think most millennials do not know how to farm and grow their own things. So having that conversation, basically. But I would love to hear your thoughts, and that's just my little spiel, because it's just something that has been on my heart. It's something I'm going to actually start talking about a lot more, because I think that in my opinion, there's a gap when it comes to like luxury and sustainability, like actual, luxurious products and sustainability. Like, what if we could assess a luxury product the same way we assess, I don't know, buying a car maybe, or a home. Like, just when we think about when we buy these big ticket items or whatever that is, and we assess the benefit, how long it's going to last, and how, am I getting bang for my buck? Like, that type of assessment. So I'm definitely curious to see what other people say about it. But yeah, I hope all of you are doing okay. And let me know how you guys are feeling too. It's just a lot. It's a lot. And I think everybody everyone's managing in their own way, and taking time for yourself, to sit in this, like, and not feeling like you need to come out of this, ready to hit the ground running. This is trauma. This is trauma. And yeah, I think, I'll just take care of yourselves mentally and physically. Don't be too hard on yourselves, like, throughout all of this. And I'm sorry, I know I kind of just got like down all of a sudden, but it's a lot. It's a lot. But yes, please take care of yourselves. Don't be too hard on yourselves. I know a lot of you out there, a lot of y'all are goal-getters. Y'all are on top of your game. You're doing all these great things, and it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. You got it. Once you get back on your feet, you got it. You're gonna get it. And that's something that I've been saying to myself as well. I have not been comparing myself to anyone, I have not been comparing myself to other people and looking at their level of productivity versus mine, because it can definitely get depressing. And I think that's just in most cases. I think social media just does that to people, because a lot of it is, kind of fake. which is annoying too, which is like I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but I think so. I think a lot of people do. But yes, please take care of yourselves, and I would love to hear from you all. I'm back. I'm active now again. I needed to take time for myself, and I suggest that all of you do the same, and hopefully you all are getting to a point where you are able to navigate this better, emphasis on depending on what has happened over the past month to you, because it's just been so much for so many people. But love you all. Thank you so much for listening. I will be putting out more things. There's much more. There's a lot of discussions that is to come that I'm gonna be talking about, and I hope all of you guys like find a lot of value through it. And until next time, keep your sunshine, and thank you for listening to Susty Soul. Bye.